Afternoon, everybody. Hope you can hear me okay. Welcome to the Preparing to Deliver the Building Services Engineering Level 3 Electrotechnical Installation qualification for Qualification Wales. That's what we'll be working on today and working through the slide deck. Just like to sort of welcome you to myself and David Ainsworth, who will be on the presentation with me to assist with any questions as we work through the presentation today. If you've got any questions as we're moving through the presentation, there's a questions tab at the side. If you can enter your questions in there, and then we can answer them as we're going through the presentation, or we can answer them at the end if they've not been answered as we've been going through. That'll be much appreciated. If you can keep your microphones on silent so we reduce any background noise, that would be useful also. And there'll be a copy of the slides made available after the presentation, and also a survey document emailed to you for completion as well. So the agenda then for this afternoon is why the transformation from existing quals to the Qualification Wales new suite of qualifications, level 3 qualification content, structure of the units, the summary of assessments, the employer confirmation guide, and learning resources that are available, and next steps for yourselves, and any questions and answers that we've not already answered as we've been going through the presentation. So myself is Mark Jones, and the EL EQA manager, and we've got David Ainsworth on the call as well today, who's the BSc Electrical EQA, who will be dealing with Welsh centres in the north of Wales, and we have another electrical EQA that will be dealing with the South Wales centres as well. So why the transformation then? So this is taken from the sector review. So the context for change there. The CBE sector review provided context for change, large and small employers and centres and associations, which outline the inconsistent assessment practice across centres. Some areas of learning were not effectively assessed, and learners needed to deal with a range of tasks and problem solve. Wasn't meeting the skills needs for Wales and reducing complexity of the system of 400 plus quals that we're currently on the Welsh Qualification Wales remit. Improving coherence with clear pathways and progression routes clear through framework and onto work or HE, and portability within Wales and beyond. So they were the reasons and sector review that was outlined that was required. So the qualification framework, working from the bottom upwards on this slide, we've got the GCSE in built environment. We've then got the GCSE AS level in the built environment, and also GCSE A level in built environment. And they're live from September 2022. And then moving up onto the level 2, we've got the foundation in construction and building services engineering, the core in construction and building services engineering, and progression in construction and progression in building services engineering. So they're all at level 2. And then we get on to the level 3. There's a level 3 in construction across the various trades. And we've got level 3 in building services engineering across the building services trades. And that's the focus of this webinar. So the learner journeys commencing in September 2022, as you can see there, the foundation and the apprenticeship kick-off, the progression and the car apprenticeship, all starting in September 2022. We've identified one or two questions that you may currently have, so we'll just run through these for the moment. So what does the qualification cover? So the level 3 qualification in building services engineering, learners will develop the skills and knowledge and understanding in building services engineering trade contained in the National Occupational Standards. In this case, it's the level 3 electrical standard. Learners will complete 2 core units covering their relevant sector and practice in the sector within Wales. Who is the qualification for? The qualification is aimed at learners aged 16 or over, currently working in building services engineering industry, and for learners who have either passed the level 2 foundation in construction and built environment qualification, or will be completing their core foundation qualification, learning and assessments while in the apprenticeship. And for learners who have completed the level 2 progression in building services engineering. So this is the level 3 qualification. What will be the mode of attendance? The qualification is designed to be completed on a part-time basis within the apprenticeship. Before the assessments, learners must first demonstrate their performance and capability to the satisfaction of the employer. What will the qualification lead to? On completion, the qualification will provide learners with the skills and knowledge required for the learners to be capable of working in the chosen trade area across the UK. So in this area, in this instance, it's building services electrical installation. So the level 3 electrical installation qualification content. So over on the right hand side in the red there, we've got the level 3 building services engineering, which is EAL remit. As you can see there, we've got the electrical installation, plumbing and heating and ventilation installation, and heating and ventilation craftsperson. One we're talking about today is the electrical installation level 3. As you can see on the left hand side, we've got the foundation and core and the progression qualifications, plumbing and heating, electrotechnical systems and equipment are the progression EAL quals for building services, and then we've got the foundation and core, etc. for the Cine and Guilds qualifications there for foundation. So the qualification structure then, and the rules of combination. To achieve the EAL Building Services Engineering Level 3 electrical installation qualification, learners must successfully undertake all units in the qualification, achieving a pass grade or higher in the assessment methods and successfully complete the safety critical assessment. So building services engineering level 3 electrotechnical installation, there are 7 common core units, units 301 to 304, and then units 312 to 314. And then there's 9 trade specific units to be completed. And then we've got the graded and safety critical assessment as well. The employer confirmation must have been completed prior to commencement of the professional discussion. Learners must have completed the practical project assessment prior to undertaking the professional discussion also. So there's a flow and a priority, what what we need to carry out the assessments in. So the on-screen assessment is externally set and externally marked. So that's an online assessment. And there's 3 tests in the online assessment that must be completed. We've then got the practical project, which is internally set, internally marked, and externally verified. So as you can see, the weighting there is 60% of the overall qualification. And then we've got the professional discussion, towards the final part, which is externally set, externally marked, and externally verified. And again, that is 20% of the overall weighting of the qualification. There's also, within the Building Services Electrical Level 3, safety critical test practical assessments. These are externally set and internally marked. There's no weighting to these, but they must be completed and passed to be able to qualify. The total TQT time for this qualification is 1,211, and the total guided learning hours is 1,047. So as you can see, it's quite a considerable commitment to time in to deliver this course and attendance for the learner. So as you can see on the sort of right hand side, we've got the English translation, and on the left the Welsh translation of the common core units and the numbers for Building Services Engineering Level 3. 301 is understanding building services engineering practices in Wales. 302, working in the building services engineering sector in Wales. 304, planning and evaluating work in building services engineering sector in Wales. And then 303, understand health and safety and environmental legislation in the building services engineering sector. As you move on down, we get to 314, coordinate a work site in the building services engineering sector. So there's a range of different units there, and they're the common core units that we have within this qualification across the level 3 programs. So for plumbing and heating, you can see there the sort of guided learning hours. What we're interested in this presentation is the electrotechnical one. So there's 7 common core units, 9 trade-specific units, and the total guided learning hours, and then the marks from the all forms of the assessment are detailed there. So the unit structure then. So unlike current qualification where we've got units and then we've got the criteria and then obviously the referencing and creation of portfolios, it's slightly different with the qualification Wales build-up of the qualification. So the learning outcomes group together the chunks of related practical skills and knowledge and are presented as a result of the learning process, i.e. what learners must understand or be able to do following teaching and learning. All learning outcomes are supported by a number of assessment criteria. Assessment criteria break down the learning outcomes into smaller areas to be covered. These criteria are what we will be assessed in connection with the learning outcomes. The range contains information about the breadth required for a specific assessment criterion. For example, the actual reasons for stacking and storing materials. The range is not an exhaustive list. there may be other examples that could fit within the topic area also. All elements listed in the range must be covered as part of the delivery of the unit. So when you're planning your delivery of teaching and learning, then obviously you must have a look at the range, make sure that is covered for the learner to be able to be measured on the learning outcomes through the online tests, practical and the professional discussion. So the structure of a unit. So as you can see there, the unit 301 is the title of that particular unit. Guided learning hours will be identified and a brief description of what the unit is about. So, and then we've got the learning outcomes are listed. This is just a snippet from the assessment and the assessment documentation and the qualification manual. So obviously there'll be further learning outcomes. We could only fit one on the slide on this section, but that's the structure of the unit. So structure of unit 301, learning outcome, number and title. We've got the criteria and the range to cover. So the range there and the delivery outcome are identified on the page. So the criteria, the factors influencing pre-1919 construction, and then the range, geographical influences, local needs, sourcing of materials, etc. And then the delivery outcomes, which are the depth of content, as the first paragraph of the delivery outcomes is listed there. Learners will know the trade bodies and organisations relevant to the trade of their roles. So we've got ECA, GIB, etc. Listed there. For heating and vent and plumbing and heating, that will be different, obviously, because they have got different trade areas. So summary of assessment. So there's 3 assessment methods plus the safety critical tests. So the on-screen assessment, test 1, 2 and 3, as we've mentioned earlier, they're the sort of weighting and contribution to the overall grade. There is an assessment pack detailing the requirements of the assessments, which can be downloadable for the Skills for Wales website. If you go on there and type in the BSc Electrical level 3, it will bring up the assessment plan, the qualification manual and the employer guide. Details of the coverage of each assessment can be found in the assessment specifications within the assessment pack. And I must admit, you will need to sort of read that, look at the specifications in the assessments and develop sessions with learners to prepare them for the online questions, also for the practical assessments and the professional discussion as well. So the on-screen assessment then. 3 tests consisting of a range of multiple choice and advanced question types. They're electrically set and auto-marked, and the results received by the centre the same day, except for initial release of new versions. The first runs of this test will be moderated, which will incur a delay in results being issued. Thereafter, they'll be on the same day. So any first tests or bank of questions, there will be a delay in releasing the results until they've been moderated. Just so you're aware of that, they won't be instantaneous. Recognition of prior achievement can be gained for test 1 when achieved, progression in the same trade. Practical project, work-based tasks will be covered. Collaboration with employer and training provider will be internally marked at the centre. Provisional marks awarded following internal assessment. Subject to external verification, the provisional marks will need to be checked and sampled by the external verifier before confirmation that the marks can be released. The grades are to be shared with the EAL, EQA staff for verification and sampling prior to any certification for the practical project. And the professional discussion conducted by an external assessor. The external assessor will be employed by EAL, who will carry out the external assessment of the professional discussion. And what they will need is access to the practical project to review any areas that are possibly weak areas where they can focus questions on to ensure that the learner is aware and has the knowledge in those areas. But they'll also be doing a range of questions covering the professional discussion. The external assessor will be occupationally competent. Units covered in the professional discussion are outlined within the qualification manual. And the professional discussion can only take place once the learner has completed the practical project and employer confirmation. So again, there's key things you need to ensure are completed before professional discussion requests. So the employer confirmation, there's a document available on the qualification page on Skills for Wales website, which is the employer confirmation document, which will, as we progress through the slides, there's a copy of it on there. See the front cover so you know what you'd be looking for. This provides guidance to employers and training providers on how the occupational competency statements set by the industry have been met. All mandatory sections of the employer confirmation must be completed. Employer confirmation must be completed before the point of booking the professional discussion. So again, that's a key milestone to be achieved prior to having the booking of the professional discussion. And employers to support the learner in applying for their relevant competency card as well at the end of the qualification. Overall qualification results. The qualification will be graded from pass, merit and distinction. Provisional grades for their practical project will undergo internal and external quality assurance. Professional discussion, external assessor will confirm the grade, and then the final grading will be issued by EAL. So the EQA will have a look at the grades for the online exam, for the practical discussion, professional discussion, just to make sure all being awarded accurately before the final grade can be issued. As you'll see in the qualification manual and in the assessment pack documentation, there are time periods when EL must respond, to centre submitting grades, etc. So that's all detailed in there. Any resubmissions or resits of assessments for whatever reason, it could be somebody's been off ill, or it missed the assessment, or it could be somebody who's been referred, not passed. When a learner fails to successfully achieve a pass grade, in any of the assessments, they are permitted to resit and resubmit. When a learner is required to resit or resubmit any of the assessments, appropriate feedback and support must be provided to enable the learner to do so within an appropriate time frame. So what we're saying there is that a learner can't be submitted straight back in for the assessment. There must be given some time to have support and guidance and further study to be able to prepare themselves for the resit. Guidance on the resit resubmissions can be found in the assessment pack. That's quite detailed in there. The employer confirmation guide. Employers will have an announced role in the delivery of the new apprenticeship qualifications in the construction and building services engineering sector. Certainly for the level 3. The purpose of the employer confirmation sign-off is to provide centres and trade bodies with the assurance that the candidate is occupationally proficient and has covered the full range of the relevant standards. The collection of evidence allows the centre to check the employer confirmation is valid and that there is an audit trail to support the decision. And that's available for centres. Employers are instructing the requirements for completing the sign-off process within our employer confirmation guide. And as detailed there, available on the qualifications page on the Skills for Wales website. So the employer role will work with the learners throughout their apprenticeships. Apprentices will log the work they have completed in line with the national standards. Employers will confirm when the learner has met the required standards for the trade. This must be done by completing the employer confirmation documents. Learners can then be entered for the professional discussion to complete the qualification assessment. Work-based learning providers will work with employers to guide and support them to ensure the quality of the apprentice's log. City & Guilds and EL will offer training and support. We will ensure work-based learning providers have suitable processes in place. So this is a typical picture of the front cover of the employer confirmation guide for the Electrotechnical level 3, which is, as I mentioned, is downloadable. And within there, several pages of what the employer needs to input and confirm. And there's the Welsh version. Okay, resources. Support material and for resources and the prospectus are in the Skills for Wales website. And if you type in whichever qualification it is you're looking for, if it's the BSc level 3, then it'll identify the downloadable materials in there across each of the qualifications that are available, which will be the assessment plans, will be the qualification manuals and the employer guide. Delivery guides for level 3 qualifications are available on the resource page in Skills for Wales website. As you can see there, teacher and learning resources for the level 3, and there's a tab to click the download in there, which again will be the pages we've just mentioned, assessment details, the qualification manual and the employer guide are within there. There are some typical schemes of work, which this is an example of one. that are available in the resource guide. So it includes the level 3 units, and it's editable, and it complements the scheme of work. It's printable for staff and classroom use, and there's a blank planner available for you, the providers. So Odda will publish free mapping documents which demonstrate how Odda education existing public publishing can be used to deliver trade-specific elements. Odda would always love to hear your thoughts on their plans. We'll also have our content review before publication and can share sample material in advance so that you can see how it might support your classroom teaching. If you would like to join our teacher team or would like to review content for Odda education, please be in touch with Tom Stotter, which his email address is there. So that might be something that you might be interested in going forward or prior to the start of the level 3 qualification. The Odda textbook supports the BSc qualifications. Whilst we do endorse them, EL have not been involved in reviewing content contained in these textbooks. If you would like to purchase or find out more about these textbooks, please contact Odda directly. So again, details of the support material there, assessment packs, qualification manual, and the employer confirmation guide are all within there. Okay, so the next steps for yourselves for the approval journey. The approval application form is available on the Skills for Wales Become a Centre website and should be submitted to the Skills for Wales quality at cityandguilds.com on completion. That will then, if your centre's just applying for BSc, that's fine. You send it to that email address. That gets sorted by City and Guilds, and we'll forward that on to EAL, our inbox. If it's construction quals, then obviously that goes to City and Guilds inbox. But that's the central email address to send applications to. All the sections are to be completed, and additional information may be requested if required. External quality assurer, EQA, subject matter, expect allocators to be complete the approval activity. Completed by the EQA and shared with the centre, and it'll be communicated in writing. So I don't know if one or two of you have been approved already. Basically, what we do, we need to arrange a meeting with the centre. Could be face-to-face, it could be remote. Some applied last year during lockdown, so that was remote. We need to see the facilities, check staff CVs, etc., just to make sure I've got the requirements to be able to run the practical projects and you've got the appropriate staff in place. And then once that's done, the approval form will be returned back to the centre and an approval letter communicated in writing. Centres can expect a decision about the approval within 30 working days of receipt of the complete application. Separate approvals must be submitted for sub-centres. Approvals cannot transfer between centres. Centres do not need to invent a new documentation for these qualifications. Example, IQA planners, adapt where available to suit. Just on that, AL, I've got new IQA documentation which supports CAS requirements, so it may be worth having a look at that IQA documentation. It may fit what you need. That's downloadable from Smarter Touch if you're already an AL centre. Your EQA will talk to you about that if need to, once you're approved and allocated an EQA. Centres may not know which assessment sites they will have following approval. This can be shared with AL once known. What's recently been released back in March is a Centre Administration Guide. So within that, it's got all the details of centre qualification approval, ongoing quality assurance monitoring by the centre and by AL, and centre administration information. So it's a useful guide, is that? It explains all about the assessment requirements, the internal quality assurance, external quality assurance, etc. And it's available on Become a Centre page on Skills for Wales website. That's worth downloading to review all that first of all. So training events that we've got set up. Obviously there's this one today and then further ones. That one's been delivered already, plumbing and heating, which is the 9th of the 5th, sorry. 1330 to 1500. Heating and ventilation is 1330 to 1500 next week. So those will be coming up shortly. So I don't know if there's any questions, any further questions that's been asked while we've been moving through the presentation. Come off your microphone if you want to ask the question verbally, that's fine. Any questions from anybody? Or if you've got any questions, to type in the questions bar. As I mentioned at the start, these slides will be available for reflection and they'll be sent out later on. And also a copy of a survey document will be sent out as well for you. But if there's no further questions, then we can close off there. But give you 2 or 3 minutes just in case you're thinking of any questions.
Mark.
Yeah.
Hi, it's Pete Ellis here from Lefel College.
Hello there.
Hi, how are you? I just put a comment on there. I'm more concerned about the RPL documentations, Mark. I'm quite happy with looking at the delivery of it, but I'm just more concerned about how we're going to RPL things.
Yeah, now the RPL documentation, I think they're still working on that. And the RPL is more to do with existing quals linking into the online assessment.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as I say, I don't think that's been released yet. They're still working on that.
Okay.
But there will be something being released shortly.
Okay.
I know Kevin Sparrow was at the final stages of that.
Okay. Are EAL doing any face-to-faces anywhere?
Yeah, we can do face-to-faces. We've had a request from one college to do face-to-face, and the college was going to contact local colleges as well to attend.
Okay.
But they're still planning dates, getting because I think there was some funding available, but we've not heard anything back since. And that were between both EAL and City and Guilds, so we could do a general presentation and then have breakout rooms for BSE and construction.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
if centres are wanting face to face, then we can accommodate that.
Okay, so just keep my eye on that then.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Of course you can. Yeah.
Just with regards to entry requirements within the within the framework, because I know we don't have them specifically for the actual qualification, but with some of those being discussed, what's your understanding of the entry requirements? Because I'm just concerned that it's going to basically penalise or disadvantage a number of learners or employers.
Well, the entry requirements, I think, are identified in the qualification manual for the qualification. Obviously, it's got to be minimum of 16-year-old, and then whatever's detailed in the qualification manual.
Do we know when the actual frameworks are going to be released, finished copy?
The level 3 is released now.
Hey Mark, can I come in there?
Yeah.
Hi Mark, it's Nigel Burfer from Gower College, Swansea.
Hello,
the framework for the Electrotechnical is not going to be ready until August. There are draft copies out there, and this is one of the questions I want to bring up. Actually, I have typed it in the question in the text box, but if I can just read through it, I put in here.
Yeah.
The framework for the Electrotechnical installation program of study is still in draft form and won't be ready until August 2022. In the latest draft framework that I have been given, which was April 2022, it shows a level 3 Electrotechnical being weighted at 121 credits and 1,211 guided learning hours, as you pointed out in your PowerPoint. This is the same as a previous draft version, which I was made privy to in February 2022. Here's my issue. The two frameworks, first of all, are almost exactly the same. However, the latest one has an inclusion which is stating that other qualifications have to be completed, which is going to be either the core in construction qualification or the progression in building services level 2. So this is an addition put on to the framework itself. And my question is, if an employer takes on a 16-year-old from day one as an apprentice, which obviously is entitled to do so, how does EEL expect these additional courses to be completed, especially when the core is weighted at 373 hours? Because none of the core or the foundation qualification is in this level 3 qualification. So, if that's currently it's in the draft version, as an addition, it has to be done in the framework. But that will put an additional year on the program of study for the electrical apprentice. Do you agree or not?
I'd have to pick that up with our product team. To be honest, I'm not sure on the answer on that one. What's your name again? I can feed back to you.
My name's Nigel Burford.
Nigel.
Yeah.
Which centre are you? Sorry.
Gower College, Swansea.
Gower. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I've been trying to get answers to this sort of question for some time now, and it seems to go around in circles, to be honest with you. And I can't really get a proper answer on it. You know, if Welsh Government, if the framework stipulates it, then obviously the guided learning hours has to go up, because this qualification, this extra core, can't be run in parallel whilst we're doing the EL level 3 qualification, because it's weighted at 373 hours. It's impossible for us to do, you know, as well as the other in the same time frame.
Yeah. I'll get some clarification on that, hopefully for you, from our product team. I'll feed that back to you.
It is certainly a problem for me. And also, if it is in the framework, then we will need 2 EQAs, because the core is City and Guilds and the level 3 is AEL. You know, we're going to have to pay for 2 EQAs visits to the centre. Is that also going to be something that we're going to have to take on board?
Yeah, as I say, I'll have to find that information out from as I say, the core. If it's City and Guilds qualification, then our product team will obviously be in correspondence with them in that development. So I'll feed that back to you.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
Okay.
Mark, can I ask a question, please?
Yeah. Who's speaking?
It's Bill Lockyer here.
Hiya, Bill.
Hi, Dan. Just following on from what Nigel was saying with respect to the City and Guilds and the EAL components of this combined qualification, is there going to be any parity between the internal quality assurance documents across construction? Because again, EAL and City and Guilds have got slightly different focus and process on internal quality assurance.
Yeah, well, not really. As long as the internal quality assurance complies with the internal quality assurance, qualification, the framework, we have our version of documents, and centres are quite, able to use their own documentation. That's fine.
It's just basically considering. I know you've got a new raft of documentation and IQA documents that just been released, and I'm just conscious that with respect to the moderation side of things as well, is that the focus from EAL is purely on this being done internally, whereas with City and Guilds, the moderations aspects of it are done externally. So I'm just concerned that we may be having to do a lot more work for one qualification from an internal quality assurance perspective than we may have to do for the other half of it.
Yeah, well, the internal quality assurance, it's quite different to what we've been used to, looking at units in portfolios and qualifications as we've got at the moment. Whereas this one is looking at quality assurance over, let's say, the online exam, obviously making sure that the invigilator is not occupational competent, that they're following either the JCQ or EAL EFA 1 procedures. That needs to be checked by the internal quality assurance. For the project, that observations done on the assessors to make sure there's standardization across assessors if different assessors are involved in that. And again, that can be using our documentation, centre devised documentation. If they want to adapt City and Guilds documentation, that's fine. But as long as the process is undertaken, that's what we need to know. So as I say, we've produced these documentations. They're not mandatory. That it's just material that centres can use if they want to.
Okay,
sorry, Bill.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Yes, please, Mark. I got one more question. You said in the I think it was the first slide in your presentation, that this qualification has the portability in Wales and beyond. Does that mean then, if I've got a student now, maybe who has done 2 years of his apprenticeship in Wales, and where he finds his parents are moving to England, that the new level 3 BSc qualification in Electrotechnical in Wales will map into the T-level Electrotechnical qualification in England?
Into the T level?
Yeah, you know, the English, the Electrotechnical is different to the Welsh one. So, you know, you said it's got portability in Wales and beyond. So the question is, does this EL level 3 Welsh Electrotechnical map into the English one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just if you're doing the level 3, why would you do another level 3?
No. Well, if you've done 2 years, should we say, before your apprenticeship, and you move into England, okay? So you're in England now, you find another job then, and then you need to finish the qualification. So the previous 2 years he's done in Wales, will that map into the T levels in England? And is there a document out there already?
Yeah, there is a document for you know, mapping across for RPLing for T levels, and that's been released at the moment for the BSE sector. They're still working on the engineering sector, but there's certainly one for the BSE sector.
So there's one for the BSE Electrotechnical Wales into the English T levels, yeah?
I'm not sure if that is in there, but I know there is an RPL document. I can find out and check with Kevin.
Yeah, if you could. Yeah, I'd like to see that, please, because, you know, it does happen where students move home because their parents maybe got a job and they got to move to England. You know, I'm purely based in this question based on your slide where you said it's got the portability in Wales and beyond. So I was hoping beyond meant that this sort of document would be in place.
Yeah. Okay.
So hi Nigel, Bill Lockyer here as well. With respect to that as well, not only T levels that are being operated in England, but also the Electrotechnical Standard Apprenticeship on the 7345.
Yeah.
And vice versa. So if somebody, because I know there's a lot of students that operate on the borders that go from England into Wales. So will somebody that's on the English standard 7345 be able to dovetail into the Welsh Electrotechnical Apprenticeship?
Yeah,
I totally agree with that, Bill. I don't understand why, you know, we're 4 devolved nations in the UK, but why we've got all different qualifications for each devolved nation, it beggars belief as far as I'm concerned. It's a recipe for disaster. So and unless these RPL documents are going to be forthcoming, you know, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, from putting another hat on that I've got with NET, we've got the same criteria with AM2, in as much as that Wales, Northern Ireland, Isle of Man, and England and Scotland, of course, have all got slightly different connotations on it as well.
That's crazy, absolutely crazy. Anyway,
yeah, I'll shut up now.
Good to talk to you, Bill. Nice to hear from you.
Good to hear from you.
I'm just jotting my notes down, Nigel, 2 seconds. So qualification Wales to T levels, and also 7345 to qualification Wales, and vice versa. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Anybody?
Hi Mark, it's Alan Harris. There's one of the assessors at Gower College, Swansea as well. But my concern, I've got a concern about this because I've been looking at the downloads and that from the Skills Wales website as well. What it was on the previous webinars you've had, a couple of my employers that I'm looking after have been on this webinar. And a lot of them have been on there and they still don't understand the fact that they've got to do the portfolio.
Yeah.
So the problem we've got is majority of what we work with down at Swansea College are either small companies, small to medium enterprises, or even one-man bands where it's themselves and an apprentice, and they are snowed under with work. It's hard enough trying to pin them down to see them for a review. So how does that stand then, where if an employer turns around and says, I haven't got time to do this?
Yeah, well, you know, it's a three-way partnership, isn't it, between the employer, the learner, and the training provider, whether it's a college or a small training provider. And you know, they've got to commit to that if they want to put the learner on the qualification.
The only concern we've got is, are we going to spend more time trying to train the employer to do the framework and the portfolio than we were doing previously and currently, where we are dealing with the apprentice and then explaining to the employer where they need to help the apprentice. Whereas it seems to be now, this is my concern, I don't know if other people feel the same, is the fact that we will spend more time trying to train the employer to train the apprentice than it would be the other way around.
Yeah, well, I'm not too sure. You know what's going to be the outcome. Obviously, proof will be in the pudding once we get started with this.
Yeah.
But that's been the sort of guidance that we've had to take from Qualification Wales and Skills for Wales on the the development of these qualifications.
I was fortunate when I did my apprenticeship. I was working for a rather large company who had a training officer, so that was great with the logbooks and everything else. But it seems to be going back now the way it was previously, when things have changed, and it seems to, this is my own perspective now, of where it seems to have gone to the back the way it was before to where it's become now. And then is this going to cause any confusion again? I think this is going to be, it's not going to be a 5-minute thing of the employers going, yep, hands up, we'll deal with the apprentices now, and then we just go along to make sure the safeguarding and everything else is in place. That's the only concern I've got as an assessor. The rapport we've got with the employers now is fantastic. But what's going to happen then if we've got a level 2 has just completed the level 2 on the old 0147 framework, and then going on to the level 3 new coursework, is any of that information where they've already got, which could be RPL'd on the old document, be reused on this new level 3 qualification?
Yeah, and that's part of the question. Well, part of the documentation that's been created at the moment for the RPLing. As I say, I don't know if that's been released yet or if it's due to be released, but I know they've been working on that. But I can find out and feedback to you're part of Gower College, yeah?
Yeah, Alan Harris. The other question I've got as well, this came about, okay, because now we've got some apprentices which are level 3 on the old 1605 qual, and then we're going to have apprentices who are finishing the level 2 and then going on to the level 3. So we're going to have people on the old NVQ, site-based and assessor-based, to then going on to the new NVQ, which is employer-based. And this has caused a lot of confusion and questions that I couldn't answer to an employer.
So is this linked to the RPLing? Is that what you?
Yes, again, what it is, we've got students who have completed the level 2, the old level 2 qualification, and then September last year gone on to the old level 3 qualification, which is the full site-based portfolio. And then we've got people now who are going to be completing the level 2 qualification, the old level 2, and then progressing now onto the level, hopefully onto the level 3 qualification, which is the new one, which is employer-led.
So from level 2 to existing level 2 to the new qualification, Wales level 3.
Whereas the other ones got to take potentially 3 years to do an NVQ, whereas these guys could potentially do it in 2 years. It seems to be that this is going to cause a lot of questions coming into the assessor's way that I think it needs more clarification on.
Yeah, well, let's see what comes out of the RPL document. As I say, I can't comment on that because I've not been involved in the development of that, but I know they have been working on that. Let's see what comes out of that.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Okay, no worries. Any other questions?
I have a question. This is Lisa Williams at College Cigar. What funding is going to be made available to employers for taking on these extra responsibilities? and the need to have an apprentice in college for 2 days rather than the one from September.
So what funding for employers?
Yes.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't know if there is any funding for employers. Again, that's something that would need to be maybe something on the Skills for Wales website or the Qualification Wales website, how to access funding. I'm not aware of the funding side. You'd probably know more than that about myself.
Okay, I'll check those then. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, Mark, can I just jump in there? The lady from College Cigar there now, she just said that the student's got to be in 2 days a week. Is that correct?
That's what we've been told.
I wasn't aware of that either.
There's no way will employers will put up with that. I can't have first I've heard of that one myself.
I'm not aware of, there's been a stipulation of how many days. I know that the training, some centres have block release, some centres have day release. It's how the qual's delivered to cover the guided learning hours and the TQT. Centres may have different requirements, and some centres may have big employers that want to do, block release and rather than day release. I'm just not involved with, how many days, etc. I think it's up to yourselves in agreement with the funding organisations of what the requirements are for that. Don't know if anybody else has got anything to feed in on that.
Sorry, Mark, I've got one more question as well for you, right? I've downloaded the resources because I like to know things in advance, right? So I've gone on to the Skills for Wales website, downloaded the resources for the level 3 construction qualification. Okay, so I've downloaded the zip file. There's got 10 units on it, going from construction common units, architectural joinery, apologies for the speech as well, bricklaying, site carpentry, timber frame, painting and decorating, dry lining, solid plastering, civil ops, groundworks, wall and floor tiling, no electrotechnical on there. So how can we as assessors and lecturers pre-prepare if that isn't even on there yet?
Well, that's right. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
But centres, you will have what you've been delivering currently. Maybe you can utilise that to map into the training and delivery.
Okay.
Whether there's anything further going to be uploaded, that may be coming. But at the moment, I'd use the resources that you've got, or look at the HODA, booklets, etc. that were mentioned in the slide pack.
Because I think this has been mentioned before, it seemed to be that the Electrotechnical was like an add-on rather than thought of at the start. That's from my own perspective. Tell me if I'm wrong, but that's what it seems to be through all the webinars I've been on so far. Because normally it's done in what I've noticed before on the spread, on the slides and everything. It seems to be in alphabetical order, and then it seems to go alphabetical and then electrotechnical at the end. I'm just wondering, is this going to be updated by Skills for Wales on the resources, or are we as centres going to make them ourselves?
I'll take that back to our product department and feed that back in.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Mark.
Sorry, was that Alan? Was that Alan that just spoke?
Yes, it was, Mark. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
It's Alexis here from Qualifications Wales. It does look like there are teaching and learning resources on the Skills for Wales website. They're listed under Building Services Engineering, though, not under construction. So construction is where you'll have all the documentation referring to the level 3 qualifications for construction, which are the ones that the gentleman just read out. But there is a separate page. So I've gone on to Skills for Wales and clicked Tutor Resources under Skills for Wales. And the second box along is for level 2 for building services engineering. And then the box on the next row is for building services at level 3 building services engineering qualifications, and there is a zip file there. I have to admit I haven't looked at the zip file yet, but it is under the building services engineering and not under the construction. I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you for that. I'm just doing that now as you were explaining. I was doing it as well, so I'm just waiting for it to download now. Thank you.
No worries.
Okay. Thanks, Alex. Much appreciated. Any further questions from anybody? I think the main thing is to, download the assessment packs, familiarise yourself with those, have a look at the assessment requirements, have a look at the qualification manual, and it's about preparing the learners, for professional discussions, get some practice interviews either between the students or between the assessor and themselves, how they use terminology, etc., the phrases, using the words that are in the assessment guidance documentation, just to make them aware that that's the area that they're going to be assessed on. So it's about preparing the learner to be as successful as they can. And, by all means, help them out by setting practice sessions up before they actually do the practical assessments, and also the professional discussions. As I say, and some learners may not be confident in verbal communication, so it's about trying to support those in practicing with classmates and things like that. Give them questions to ask, and the key answers that they should be coming back with. It's different way of assessing learners, and it's something obviously we've got to build in and develop as we go along. I don't know if anybody's got any further questions.
Yeah, me, Mark. Sorry, Peter Ellis again. Can you hear me?
Sorry, who's speaking? Sorry.
It's Peter Ellis again.
Oh, Peter, right.
Just one of the questions I rose to one of my managers in relationship to this, who was involved in the building of this qualification, was that there is no weighted points on the internal practical stuff and the exams that they have to do. I'm just wondering why.
To be honest,
they have to complete it for the qualification, but there's no like UCAS points, as one would say, to be used on it.
To be honest, I'm not sure. Again, that would be our product department that would be able to sort of advise you on that, but they're not on the call today.
Right. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, if there's no other questions, we can close the engagement. As I say, this webinar will be saved and be available for download. I think it's the end of today. It should be ready, and the questionnaire will be sent out to you as well. Okay, thanks for your input and your attendance. Hope it's been useful in some respects for you. And as I say, it's about downloading the material, having a look at that. If you need any support from any of the EQA team, then please, contact myself. and we'll try and get something arranged. As I say, there's some centres that have already raised face-to-face meetings, and they were going to invite other centres to that. But as I can say at the moment, we've not had any confirmed dates or venues for that. So if you're wanting to run something or wanting support, please let us know. Okay, everybody. Thanks for your attendance. Thanks for your input. Bye now.